And we are on.
I didn't know. I just wasn't sitting there. I didn't know why or how it
All right, settle down, guys, settle down. Find a seat, find a seat. Okay. I want to welcome everyone to the November 14th, 2025 meeting of the New Jersey Antique Radio Club here in beautiful Bowen Hall, Princeton University. Are there any new faces in the lecture hall? And I think there is. I think there is. I think Jack is a new face. Jack, stand up and tell us a little about yourself and what you collect.
I'm Jack Knott, K-N-O-T-T, and I've been collecting radios for a long, long time. Probably started out when I, maybe 60 years ago, almost.
Oh, you were only 9 years old.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that started out, like I was telling the fellows before, that I was building crystal sets when I was 5 years old and stringing wires across the backyard and all that sort of thing, which probably most of us did. And, I used, kind of had given to me a pair of Brandy's headphones, which were, 2,000 ohm, nice high impedance, and worked really nicely. But I really started to really play with radio when we got rid of our 1937 Pontiac. And my father said to me, I must have been about 7 at the time, he says, if you can get that radio out of there, you can have it. And I had pliers and I got it out of the car. It was a box that was mounted up under the dashboard. And it had a separate speedometer cables up to the little tuning head. Well, I took that and I put that in we had a wireframe bed at that time. And I had the tuning head up on the top of the bed there. I powered it with my American Flyer trains transformer, which is good for about 7 amps. And I had a little bit of gargling with the 60 cycle hum in it, but I had my own radio. And one of the guys from Bell Labs was over at my uncle's house and said, gee, if you take that vibrator out of there and put a screw in each one of those holes, one of the big holes and one of the small holes, you'll be hooking up the one half of the transformer in there, and you'll have AC it'll be 60 cycles all the way through, and it filtered a whole lot better and sounded really pretty decent. But that's one of the first ones. And then I was given a Atwater Kent, I think it was model 33 or somewhere around there, and it had this first one that had a field coil as a choke. After the Model Fs, I had a speaker that actually sounded good, a dynamic speaker. And I got that working, had a wire strung across from the basement to the outside, and I had another radio working. But after that I was hooked, I knew that had high voltage in it, and I found out just like everybody else had it. And it was, since then, I'll say 20 years ago I stopped and I counted all the radios I had, anything that received RF. And I stopped counting at 400 because I just ran out of time. And I had a house that, you were at my house at one point, and that was in around 1984,
Yeah.
right in that area. And I guess I had, 42 years of accumulation in that house. And right now, I live up at Culver Lake, up in the northern corner of the state. And if you know Route 206, I'm at the 118-mile marker.
Oh, I know where that is.
Yeah.
I know where the 0 mile marker is.
Yeah. Well, that's probably have a lot of people from down this area, that's what I say. But the fun part of it was that when I moved, I sold the house that I had in Sparta, and my son-in-law was kind enough to let me put some radios and things in his barn. And I put them very neatly in there and have boxes labeled with everything on it so you could read it and so forth. And, well, he had his guys move them way into the side of the barn, under the eave almost, and made it a little more difficult because I can't see any of the numbers and labels on it. And he said to me, he says, you know you have 300 boxes there?
Some boxes.
And, so I've been slowly unloading a lot of it and giving it some away to people that are interested in learning on how to play with radios. So my prices at the Hamfests and things are probably obscenely low nowadays. And that's unfortunate because we always thought those would go up in value, right? But,
Not a good investment, Jack, not a good investment.
yeah, no, it was fun,
All right, Jack, thank you. And
That's it.
you found the right place.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, it's a little bit of a ride, but it's, worth it.
Okay.
Parsippany's a lot closer though.
Yeah, that's where I'll be next week, I believe.
Yes, you will. Okay. All right. Nobody else. Infirmary reports. Two things. One of them happens to be me, and the other one happens to be Joe Devonshire. And me has to do with being old. Oh, wait a minute. Pretty much everybody in here is old, yeah.
Does anybody not have gray hair? One person.
Or any hair, yeah.
For yourself.
You getting there. You getting there. You getting there. Anyway, stairs, okay? Old people, stairs, falling. Well, I ended up falling, going upstairs, not downstairs, okay? And I landed on my leg, and I'm not very flexible, and I just went over on the side, and my calf went underneath me, and all I heard was a click, and I knew, that's not good. So long story short, and a couple of doctor visits, and a hospital visit, and a ultrasound, and a little blood clots, and a lot of hopping around, and that was 2 weeks ago today. And okay, kind of okay, kind of okay. But it's no fun. I just remember having something like that happen to me similarly about 10 years ago. Yeah, like 4 days later, I was okay. It ain't okay, guys. It ain't okay. Nope. When you get old, I'm telling you.
What was the popping sound?
Muscle. I pulled the muscle. I ripped it.
We don't need to chop down any willow trees, do we?
No.
You know if that is the preferred material for,
Yeah. No. I had the cane for 1 day though.
no, not a cane, that's the material for a wooden leg.
Oh. Prosthesis. You think they still use the wood?
No, I think they use that material now, but
It's probably 3D printed. That's right.
but traditionally that was the preferred material.
Huh. Thank you, John. So getting to Joe Devonshire up in Maine. He had a fall a couple of days ago. I saw him on the Zoom meeting last night. And again, just a crazy thing. He's with a shopping cart. Something fell off the cart. He reached down. And next thing you know, he pulled out his arm. He did something and he re-injured an old wound. So here he is again,
They say he did something to his arm in his childhood or something. He did something.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
That just, kind of
Injured it.
re-engineered something he had again, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So again, it's just, hey, what was Leo out there? We're talking, and he was saying, emphatically, Rich, you fall, that's dead. That's dead. People die from falling, old people, and it's true. It is very true, very, very true. So we got to be careful. Got to be careful. And I'm a guy that runs around. I'm always running around, and you got to be careful. Just got to be careful. Anyway, anybody else should be on the infirmary list that I should know about?
Check in an hour or two.
Check in an hour or two? It's interactive on the Zoom? No. Okay, old business. Saturday, October 25th, we held our fall repair clinic at InfoAge in 9032A. I wrote a review in this month's Jersey Broadcaster. We had a nice showing of experts and clients. We had help advertising our PAL show next Saturday from a U.S. Army Air Force corpsman. And the pics, did anybody see the pics? I know Ira saw the pics because he actually prints them out. So I think that's fantastic. And certainly anybody that was there at our repair clinic. We had a good time. We had a really good time. And I appreciate everybody that came. What's that?
That went really well.
Yeah, yeah, even though,
New guy.
even though Ricola wasn't here. He called in sick,
I think it was my.
and he
the
still
vaccine I got.
and he still wanted to get paid too.
Yeah.
All right.
He gets paid?
Well, don't I get my $5 for the pizza that I didn't eat?
So, so I want to thank again, club member Ed Papson coming in to visit. You all remember when you were there. He came in, had a nice conversation with everyone. He wanted to observe, and as he was observing, he brings in a gigantic box of pastries that you saw the picture of too. And those pastries did not last long. They were gone within the hour. Also during that clinic, Phil Vortzis sold one of his books, The Fabulous 45, to club member Phil Raynone. And I don't put it out enough, and he certainly doesn't blow his own horn, but you know, considering that Phil has been in the club, he was our president for a long time, I was his vice president for a long time. He's an author of The Fabulous 45. And the Throwback Thursday that Matt had put up a couple of weeks ago was a video of him demonstrating 45s in his collection and all that. And I'm just thinking, you know, if you don't know it, he still has books for sale, all right? I teased him on the Zoom last night Phil, do you have like 3 books in your closet, or do you have 100 books in your closet, you know, unsold? And he said, no, I got a few books. I said, well,
He said he had 6 or 7 or something, some
Yeah.
really obscure number.
yeah,
Well, you could actually go, I actually, on the video that I did for the thing on my channel, I put a link there that you could go to Amazon and buy his book. So there's a link on my video at the bottom, you just click on it and you can buy that book right from Amazon.
oh, okay.
Little book.
I'm thinking Amazon, I don't know, I mean, he gets next to nothing anyway, so I'm thinking he's going to even get less than nothing on Amazon.
You could get a slice of pizza from her or something.
Yeah.
It's something, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, everybody should have that book. I mean, I have it. I have it autographed, of course. The early time when it first came out, 25 years ago, we all got it. But anybody who doesn't have it, it's really worth having too.
I learned a great deal from
Yep.
watching that video that Matt put back up there.
Yeah.
That was just amazing.
Yeah, you know, you're right, Bob. So, all right. So last Thursday, November 6th, we held our semi-annual executive board meeting via Zoom. At the board meetings, we discuss and plan our 2026 year's meetings and events. And that's, Harry did a very nice spreadsheet of that. And these are out on the table. So everybody take one, you have it, put it on your refrigerator, put it on your headboard, in your bed, whatever. So you're not calling me, Rich, where was the meeting this Friday? Where? Huh? It's all here, okay? And the events and the dates. So everybody, please take one. And I think what we'll do is we'll put it out on the communicator too. This way it's out there. And on the website.
It's in
All
the
right.
newsletter too. The first
Yes.
2 months are, and next month we'll have all of them.
Okay, all right, great. All right. Now, at the executive board meeting, you're going to like this. We agreed not to increase our dues for year 2026. So we're still staying at $25 a year, which is what, 2.5 lattes at Starbucks? Yeah. So, okay, we agreed that Matt Reynolds, Paul Mondock, Bill Sloma, and Dave Sika should continue to renovate our website and our presence on social media, InfoAge, Facebook, etc. So that's a work in progress too. And of course, there was that discussion on changing the name of the RTM, the Radio Technology Museum, and that discussion continues. It's very fluid. Need more input from different people, and so that'll be going on for a little while. Docents for our museum. How are we doing in docents, Ray?
We're doing pretty good. We 2 new ones, so manage it to,
How old are they, Ray? That's all we care about. How old are they?
well, I
Don't tell me they're younger than you. I don't want to hear that.
don't know one of them, I haven't met him yet.
Oh,
The other one is middle age.
middle age. What's that nowadays? 55, I guess? All right, well, that's good. Did we just pick them up because they happened to be coming through the museum and they got enthused?
Well, they contacted us. They liked what they saw, or one of them talked to the person at the entrance and said he would like to volunteer, so they passed it on to us.
Okay, great. Very good. Very good. Okay. All right. Any other old business before I go to new business? All right, new business. Well, our most immediate new business is our fall show at Parsippany PAL, which is next Saturday morning, guys. We have the flyers out on the front desk at the entrance table. We're filling up fast. We're doing okay. So far, we're doing okay. But we still got room. So please, you want to be a vendor? Let me know at intermission. See me write it in the book. And this way we'll get a table for you. Next, our holiday party is a month from yesterday, the 13th. So it's December 13th at Westlake Golf and Country Club in Jackson, New Jersey. After Thanksgiving, I'll post the information about the party and what we'll be doing there, especially if it's somebody new who's never been to the party or to the club. It'll be interesting for people to know that. And thanks to, well, as a thanks to our docents, the docents will be gratis to our party, okay? So if you are an active docent, you're welcome to the party, okay? All right. Okay, DX season is upon us. Al Clays has put in a lot of work and information, and that's on in our broadcaster this month too. Plus his website. He's been putting out a lot of stuff on the communicator. So, but of course we didn't have any DXing this past week with the Northern Lights, I guess, huh? Oh. All right, so this is kind of interesting. I put out on the communicator about 4 days ago a request by a policeman in Buffalo, New York. He was looking for a Crosley pup, okay? Now, the reason he was looking for it is he seems like a very nice fella, and he was holding a charity event in his home for to raise some money. I forget what charity he said it was for. So he had a lot of people in his home, and he had a big display of his radios, and one of them was the pup. And so when the party was over and he's cleaning up, he noticed that his pup was stolen. And so just think of the irony of that. Policeman got robbed, of his pup. So anyway, that's the half of the story. And I said, well, I'll put it out on our communicator. I can't promise, but maybe somebody has a Crosley pup that they would like to sell, and they know your story about it. Lo and behold, our very own Dr. Forte contacted me and told me that he sold his Crosley pup to Officer Frank Angelo from Buffalo, and that he mailed it up to him yesterday. So I thought that was a pretty good connection. We're able to connect things like that. Yeah, yeah. So that makes his collection full again.
So does that make it a police dog? The Crosley pup, is it a police dog now?
Maybe it was a police pup. A police puppy, yeah.
Canine unit.
Canine unit, yeah. Well, see, that's another joke. And I said, no jokes. And I said, the pup didn't run away. It was stolen, yeah. All right. That's enough of that. Okay, any other new business? Anything else new? Going on to our Hamfest corner.
This is not new business for the club specifically, but there's a group of us that meet every Friday, a group of nerds and techies that meet every Friday at Uno Restaurant in Hamilton Township. And we talk about electronics and radio and all that kind of thing. I have little pages here for anybody who's interested. I'll hand them to you and you can just,
Well, how long has this been going on?
probably about 10 or 12 years
Oh,
at least.
can you name any nerds?
Well,
Are they in hiding? They're
yeah,
in,
Scott Marshall used to be in it, and he would come almost every Friday.
Oh.
There are a couple of other people who are also members of this club. I can't remember their names.
are you taking in new nerds?
Yeah, we're trying to build the group up. It's been diminishing a bit, and we're hoping we can attract more members. So anybody interested, I'll hand you this little write-up which describes exactly what.
All right, yeah, give it out in intermission then, Jonathan.
That's exactly what I'll do.
Yeah, all right, good. Wow. Is there a name to the nerd club, or?
No, it's just Friday lunch group.
Okay. Do you have a treasury? I mean,
No, it's not-
the lunch is free?
We just meet, we have lunch, we talk about stuff, we pay up for the lunch, and we go home.
Which restaurant?
It's Uno on Sloan Avenue in Hamilton Township.
But you got to be a nerd.
Yeah, you gotta be some kind of a nerd or a techie.
I get it,
Well, not really, but we sometimes have people who aren't,
Do you have to take a test to be a nerd?
not quite, no.
You'll know.
All right, okay.
You know if you fit in.
All right, great. That's good to hear. I didn't know anything about it.
And there have been a number of people who've been members of this gang and that one also.
All right, Jonathan, that's great. Thank you. All right, Hamfest corner. Hamfests are winding down, and I believe our Hamfest Swap Meet show is the last for the season in our area. But Flark, right, Fair Lawn Club, is holding their after Turkey Day auction.
Day after Thanksgiving.
After Turkey Day. That's what I said. Anybody been to it? I've been to it. Yeah. It's fun. I mean, it's fun. You know. And of course, Lady Judith is there, and Fred, of course. So keep that in mind.
$5 to get in.
Yeah, that's right. It's $5. Yeah, she said that on the Zoom last night too. Yeah. No. I've been there when it's packed. You're standing up too. No. So.
Seen good stuff go out the door, dirt cheap.
Yeah, you know, it's.
It's probably worthwhile going.
That's, I mean, I picked up a nice Hamilton speaker, you know, that didn't go for much money, nobody wanted.
Years ago, I picked up a working Simpson 360 meter
Wow, that's rare.
with a digital display,
Digital display,
with leads, working for $20.
sweet.
The 360, that's the digital in the 260 case.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Any other
Manual for it, let me know.
any other Hamfests going on? That's it? Played out? All right. Okay. After a short break and intermission, sale of our 50/50 tickets that if Darren can stay awake, we'll be handing them out with our vice president, so we'll get to that. And then we will have our presentation for this evening. Now, we have Mr. October here. Oh, Rich, it's November. Come on, man. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, our Mr. October was up in AWA giving presentations up there last month, so he couldn't make it. He had a choice, going to AWA or coming here, and he said, Rich, I'm sorry, AWA. Not a problem, Mike. We're going to get you in November. So, come on back after a quick break, please. All right, go ahead. 50/50 tickets. Thank you.
50/50, folks, 50/50.
Yes. Sure.
good at turning the projector on?
It's, I see it warming up. I see it's on, like,
Depending how old they look. If they look like they're still young enough to cut up a firewood, then they have to come to us.
so again, anybody need a table? And don't tell me you don't have anything to sell.
50-50.
50-50, guys.
Yeah, because I can't, more stuff in my hang on there. How many want?
Yeah, I want to keep the ticket on one side.
You want a knife so you can cut
No, I got one.
In 2012, I fell down my home stair and was looking at my sole
Oh,
shoe, and I have a rod now on my
oh, damn.
left foot. And you're fortunate you didn't.
I'm always fortunate that way, believe me, believe me. Oh, I forgot to talk about my basal cell sarcoma. That's okay. That's not a big deal now.
Yeah, that we all have something.
Oh, yeah, it's all part of it.
I said, before I retired, I had one doctor, now I have 8.
Yeah. You know, there's a guy on YouTube, he's, I can't think of his name. He's a stand-up comedian, and he's, I mean, just old. He is old, and he does old. Huggin, I think his name is. Duggan, Huggin. And he's so funny. He says things, and he's not dirty or anything.
We all relate to it.
You know,
right?
just so, and he says things like he's a widower, all right? And he says, I date, and the good thing about dating at my age, and he's like 70 or 75, and he says, is that you don't have to ever worry about meeting their parents. I mean, that's his humor. That's his, yeah, right. I hope those brownies go quick.
They're good.
They're great, right? Yeah,
Who made them?
I did.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah,
I had 2.
you had 2. Okay, good.
Hey, Doug, how's it going? Hey, pal.
There he is.
Taste the butter, that's probably at least a pound of Costco butter in the cookies.
As long as it's not margarine.
No, it's real butter.
There's
Oh
some.
my God, there's 2 left. I think I'm scattered down.
There's some crazy young woman, very attractive woman on YouTube, and I mean, it's insane. She believes in eating only fat and meat. So she eats that sounds stupid. She eats a bar of butter and a steak, okay? And she cuts it up and eats it. And she says, this is so much better for you. She goes, this bullshit about this is much better. Forget about carbohydrates. Forget about everything else. This is better for your body, and it's better for your complexion. And she's showing your skin is beautiful. And to see somebody take a stick of butter on one, it's like, yeah, exactly.
Do you guys need a flyer on that lunch gang? Okay.
I live too far away, but thank you for offering.
Let me, I'll put it,
One, just in case I
You can
change
put
my
it
mind.
in the.
I'll put it on the communicator, okay?
What?
In case I change my mind, because I'm not that far away.
Yeah, you live a lot closer to Hamilton than I do.
Yeah.
You don't have to come every damn Friday.
But Jonathan, if I put it on the communicator, is that okay?
Yes,
Put it in the club?
I love that, yes, I
Okay.
appreciate that.
Right, all right, now look, give it back to him. You're not smart enough. Get down. not smart enough neither. And you're a lot smarter
Don't
than
worry,
me.
he's an equal opportunity offender.
Yeah. Have some more candy.
You know, that blasted tube that's in the Rich's radios?
Oh, those ones, yeah. I don't have any of them, by the way.
When I got home, I made up an adapter for my Heathkit tube checker, and I didn't bring it along. Just, oh, I need it. I've got one of those sockets I put on it. But I did this back in around 1970 or something like
Oh.
that, or maybe the 60s.
Yeah.
So I forgot. Because I put on
He's the only one that would join
Put on
us.
there every tube socket that was not on the Heathkit tester.
Ah,
And that includes, there's two, I think there's 6-pin socket, no, more than 6, maybe 8-pin sockets.
it's a 9
Not,
pin.
not the 8, no, it could be 9. Not talking about miniature, I'm talking about like your horizontal output tube that they had,
Oh,
or a damper tube, which it was. There's same size socket, same spacing of the pins, 2 different diameter pins.
diameter of the pin?
Diameter of the pin, so if you stick the wrong tube in the wrong socket, you end up damaging the socket.
Oh, so you mean like, oh, wait a minute, this is going to go in. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There it goes.
Not a lock door, no? Must be European.
No, it was TV tubes. It's an overgrown miniature, you know, it grew up, that type of pin basing on it. So in other words, it doesn't have, not like an octal where it's got the locator, certainly not an octal. I can't remember what the output tube was, or maybe it was the damper tube that used that socket.
It's 6BK4.
Then there's 2 different ones.
Get another brownie before they go.
I forget what those tubes were. There's 2 different sockets.
But they're very good.
What they're called, 6J6. A lot of users use 6J6s.
I can't even remember what I'm talking about UHF.
I want to thank you again.
Oh, you're quite
I'm
welcome.
telling you, really. Yeah, right here.
Those metal cans.
Shielded tube.
How you been, Bob?
Good, Doc, yourself? Good, good. Did you have any luck finding a mind control?
Yeah, I had one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh,
In
good.
fact, I brought it back. Yeah.
It's funny as hell. He's such a good guy for doing this. But it's funny as hell. I see him in the shop, in our shop at InfoAge, and he's going through all these buckets and buckets of controls. Not one could he find. That tells you how
Yeah.
the stuff we have there. You know?
Yeah.
And then his own. Don't tell me you have buckets and buckets at house.
I got buckets. And
Oh man.
I do.
They took me through everything, ground school, all of that for free. And we had at one point 36 aircraft flying.
I always thought that was amazing. What would the lux be on such a, you know, there's one just to get the image on this little plate back there. And the only amount of light actually is teeny tiny thing for a light that is like, you know, one type of. Right, right, yeah, that's, yeah.
How's Lila?
She's getting old too. She's gonna be 14.
Oh boy. Yeah, this past week I was recuperating with my daughter's dog, Cassie. So,
Oh, wow, looks friendly.
yes, yes, very needy. It's a Yorkie, a little Yorkie, you know. My daughter works and lives in the city, so She had the dog in there for like 2 weeks, and the dog immediately got sick.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So we got her. Did you see Richard Brewster up there?
I did. He was doing pretty good. He committed to come to my house on the way home, but then we never talked again. And I could see his wife thinking that that's not going to be possible, like, to stop at my place. So I'm hoping to hear from him. He has all my information. And he sold some nice things at the auction that I didn't get to stay for.
Did he seem like he was with it?
I guess a little behind the curve, but not bad.
Because I had some communications with him, and it was very weird.
Oh, yeah.
Very weird.
But again, if his wife was with him, she kind of fills in.
Yeah, yeah. Susan, yeah.
Clubs,
Club
winners,
winners.
$24 each.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Might run down and see the men's room, I'll be right back.
All right, or you can run up, but then you'll fall like I did.
Try not to.
They had little posts with tiny ink nestles. Inside the camera.
Give Mike a hand. Give Mike a hand. Something problem. What's he doing? He's got a little problem, that's all.
Oh, all right.
No, I didn't ask you anything. What, are you leaving?
No.
Good. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Sold 10,000 resistors. Carbon copy.
You mind auctioning that box off later?
Are you Quasimodo?
Yeah.
You know,
Only on Fridays.
you know the story about him, how he met his end.
Yes.
You know how that happened? He
Yeah,
was
up in the bell tower,
He
yeah.
went to ring the bell,
Yeah.
and it swung back and hit him in the head, and they found him on the ground. And when they couldn't identify the body, and then a cop comes along, and they said, "Do we know who this is?" He said, "His face rings a bell."
Ta-da! Well, see, this is me with my leg up, and my daughter's dog licking me. Actually, was started licking me.
I fell down the basement stairs a couple of years ago. I was very fortunate because I was carrying a basket of laundry. And somehow the laundry went down ahead of me.
Yeah.
The basket rolled out of the way, and most of what I landed on was laundry, towels, which,
Much better.
yeah, than
Much
landing
better.
in the basement,
Right.
which happened to have a bunch of
Yeah.
tape recorders sitting there.
Can I mention the?
Yeah.
No. Can I mention next auction? You still don't? You're not.
I think
you're not,
so. Yeah, we're pretty sure, I think, yeah.
January.
Yeah.
I don't have to give a
early
date.
January, yeah.
January.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I gotta just make sure I have enough consignments.
Sure.
And it's been slow lately. It's now that guy in Fishtown,
Yeah.
he wants to sell the stuff, so he's gonna bring it to me. Because I
All
told
right.
him.
So he wants to be a partner then. All right.
What's that?
He wants to be your partner then.
No, he just wants to sell the stuff. He doesn't want to give it away. And I told him, you know, commission starts at 35%, and that's what the stuff delivered. I said, if I have to pick it up in Fishtown, it's gonna be a lot more than that, you know.
Hey, come over here. Let me show you this. I just got this. Who the hell sent it to me? It's in Staten Island too.
Trove of test equipment. Oh. Oh.
Yeah, let me just push this to you and you take
Yeah.
care of it. I just got it today.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, great. So I wonder if that's the guy from, he'll send that to me. I'll be in touch with him tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, Staten Island is manageable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it, just, you know, this is like one person telling another person to tell me, you know? Yeah. All right, let's sit down, guys.
We have the,
Find a seat, please. Find a seat.
back, when I was in high school. Yeah. High voltage supply on it.
Just for reference and letting you know, our tube meister, Darren Hoffman, has been selling tubes for the club on eBay. We do have a lot of tubes around. And just as an advertisement for what he does for the club, he will be bringing tubes to our event next Saturday. A couple of guys have asked for tubes, and he will make them up and bring them and sell them at a reasonable price. It's club members. So you get tubes at a discount.
What's the seller name for the club, Darren,
What's that?
on eBay? What's the seller name?
I'm just selling them under my name.
Just D. Hoffman or?
No, it's my eBay business name. So I can't really have,
Can't divulge that?
no, I can't have a separate seller for different consigners because it upsets the entire, eBay doesn't play that game anymore.
Yeah, that used to be a ploy.
You'll be a
Yeah.
new seller, basically.
The slightest infraction of those chicken shit rules, they'll give you a penalty for life.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, keep it. Hello. Frank, okay. So anyway, with that, Darren is selling tubes for the club on eBay, okay? And he just gave me a check today for over $600, so it's happening, okay? So we thank you, Darren, for that. And it goes to the Richard Lee Memorial Fund, okay? Okay. All right, so we have $24 in the kitty for the lucky winner. 24 big ones. So, as a tradition, we have, might be 25, who knows? As a tradition, we have a new club member do the drawing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you seem awful, Jack, you seem very enthused about that.
Yeah, I
Now-
can match them up from a distance.
Well, there has been in the past, Jack, where the new member, he won the pot.
Oh, no.
And people were saying, fix,
Yep.
you know? But it doesn't matter. So if you win, it's okay.
Okay, we'll grab a ticket out of here.
Sometimes the winner donates the prize to the club.
Yeah, I heard that too. Oh, wait a minute, I got two.
Oh,
Well,
we got to
take the
split,
top
now we
one.
got to split the win.
There we go. 4130-949.
The
949.
winning ticket is 41
I missed it by 10.
4 1 3 0 9 4 9 9 4 9.
Good.
So what did you say, Jonathan?
Thank you.
4130949.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes you donate it to the club, I will do that.
You're a wonderful man. Look at that, I tell you that, Jonathan, he's something else. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep, you're quite welcome.
Thank you, Jack.
Anyway, by the way, what's the best time, day of the week to visit the Armstrong exhibit?
You better do it quick. Ray, when's the Armstrong over, the exhibit, Armstrong exhibit?
When is it gonna be over?
Yeah,
Early in December.
early December.
I'm not sure the date, but
All right, if you go on a Wednesday, John, where's John? Where's Ricolo? Oh, right in front of me. He moved his seat.
Just so I was getting a nice view of the tripod, so I
Well,
thought,
he's got my bald head in the damn
yeah,
camera.
we want to spray your head. There's a lot of.
Thank you,
lot of
appreciate that.
reflection there.
Jonathan would like a tour. Could you give him a tour the day you're
I'm
there?
not there on Wednesday.
Oh, you're not there. Oh, Bill's on there on Wednesday. All right. What's a good day for Jonathan to come for the tour of Armstrong?
Well, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday.
Right.
Uh,
But Jonathan's special. Wednesday's better. Jonathan?
If it's not the second or fourth Wednesday of the month,
Well-
any Wednesday this month will be all right.
Okay. All right.
See if we can make it the next one or the one after.
Okay. All right.
Wednesday, you could be from 10 o'clock till 5 o'clock.
Right. So yeah, you could actually come earlier and get a special viewing then, eh? All right, good. Okay. Again, Jonathan, thank you very much for your generosity.
Oh, well, it's done a lot for me.
Good. Okay. More pockets. Okay. All right. Okay. Our presentation this evening from our very own Mike Molnar is entitled Timeline to Television 1840 to the 21st Century. And I give you Mike Molnar, please. A round of applause.
I think this one's mine.
Okay,
All righty.
thank you.
Thank you, welcome. This is a different version of the one from the AWA, and I believe Dave's the only one that saw it once already, so here we go. When I first thought about the development of television, it just seemed logical that it was an evolution of radio, that radio had started broadcasting in 1920, and then by 1940 we're broadcasting television. But that was pretty far from the truth. The reality is that it's been a dream from at least before 1840 anyway. There's one book published called 4,000 Years to Television. So, but in 1840, why isn't this doing it? Or did I take the wrong one? No, it's not mine. Well, we'll do it this way. It was just a dream. You can see even in the early days of a phonograph and a light projector that the dream of dating online was just still ways off. But first you had to have the concept, the idea of breaking up an image into pixels, and then, or any kind of way you want to divide it, and then sending it to another location and reassembling the picture again in the other place. And the award for actually coming up with that concept was this man, Alexander Bain, who in 2016 was awarded a Technical Emmy Award posthumously for coming up with this concept of breaking up an image and sending it to another place. And the device that he proposed, but they really didn't have much technology to build it, you could see would record the image that's moving past an electrical contact, and then they had synchronized pendulums, and then an inker on the other side to recreate the image. And by 1860, the pantelegraph was the continuation of this same idea of scanning on one side. The top left is a scanner, and then synchronized pendulums and sending it to another place. And the pantelegraph was actually a business device where they could send over telegraph lines and send documents. You can see an actual sample of a document that was printed on one of these. The next development that came along, though, was the discovery of selenium in 1817 by this smiley guy, Berzelius, who they were actually making use of it as an insulator in telegraph equipment. And the reports from the people operating it was that, gee, it worked fine at night, but in the day, it wasn't an insulator anymore. So that led to the discovery of selenium's electrical sensitivity to light. And then that would be something that could actually detect the light and convert it into an electrical signal. The downside is, if you look at that graph, is it took so long to build up, like 5 seconds to reach a maximum, and then to fade out after the light was removed, about another 10 seconds. So that would make moving images certainly something hard to discern. But the next development came from Paul Nipkow, who invented the famous Nipkow disc, and he was actually interviewed later in life. I think it was in about a 1928 or so magazine article, when he describes that it had been a pet project of his as a young student. He was poor, living in a rooming house and hungry, and it was cold and a Christmas weekend when the idea hit him, and he said he started jumping around like a crazy man to where the landlady had to come and see if he was having a fit or something. And unfortunately, being that same student, he did patent it, but never developed it. And then later, other people would take it on. So even with the selenium and with the disc, they're still pretty far away from being able to sit on your easy chair and order a suit online or on the television. So we still have a long way to go. The next guy to actually put something into action was John Logie Baird, and this is a photograph, the first photograph of a televised image. The British and Baird always used vertical scanning lines, but the device he used was this machine called the 88s. The scanning disc in the front is lenses in each hole, and it's two patterns of 8 on the one disc. And the way he got around the problem with selenium being so slow was that second disc, just the one closer from his hand, is a chopper. So the light would go through the chopper and break off little chunks of light of what came through the lens, and that gave the selenium less time to build up, but quicker time to fall down. So they were getting a much faster pulse that way. And then one of the next people to come along was Francis Jenkins, who famously started broadcasting television programs in the mid-1920s to the late 20s, and found that the best way to get a visual image on a scanning disc was to do these shadowgraph plays. So if you did all the work to, either you bought one of his kits or you bought a factory-made version and you tuned your radio in, hooked it to the televisor, and you could see some sort of a play like this. And he got there was very limited use of it in one of his books on pictures by radio. He actually has reports from the several dozen people who bought these and used them, but it never got past dozens of people. And he had 2 operations going. One was his research business in Washington, and the second was in here around Passaic, where they had investors started a second company with his equipment, and they were actually doing test broadcasts from North Jersey. Unfortunately, when that business was losing money, the investors forced him to sell. Jenkins was in poor health anyway, and he just kept the New Jersey, or the Washington company going until he passed away. And he sold the company to Lee DeForest, who was making radios and vacuum tubes in North Jersey. And that young man with him who was developing his tubes was Alan Dumont. And that was how Dumont got his start with Westinghouse, speeding up vacuum tube production from 3,000 a day to 30,000 a day. And then he was hired away by DeForest to straighten out his production, which was only about 100 a day, and he got them into thousands a day. So Dumont was interested in this mechanical television stuff that they took over, and took an engineer's look at it on his own and started working with the equipment that they had. Now the DeForest was famous for going bankrupt and not having money to begin with, so when I checked into how this could have happened, that he could have bought the Jenkins company, the only thing that came to mind was it was like a stock swap. So these guys were afraid of losing all their money, so they swapped it for stock in the DeForest company, and 2 months later, guess what? DeForest went bankrupt. So any of those guys who figured they're going to save their cookies by swapping the stock quickly found out just the opposite would happen. And in that time before, this is some of the equipment that that they were making. They had this, that's Dumont demonstrating the televisor. The guts to the televisors in that picture down below, where it had a scanning drum, multi-section neon tube behind it, and these slots to select which holes would send the image through. And they had a very elaborate television camera, which on the top right is just a flying spot scanner, so that there's a carbon arc lamp in the top, and that sends a bright light through a scanning disc, which is in that circular shaped piece. And they could move this around, and they would flood the room with light from a flying spot scanner, and then you could pick that up on a photocell and produce your image that way. The other person who got into mechanical television while he was the big shot in engineering at research at General Electric was Ernst Alexanderson, obviously famous for his Alexanderson alternator. And David Sarnoff, who was hedging his bets in electronic television, funded Alexanderson doing research at General Electric. And like any good inventor, he decided to take a trip to Europe for a month or so and see what they were doing over there. And he found this device being built by August Carolus in 1930, which is a mirrored wheel. And every one of those mirrors on that wheel is at a slightly different angle. So that as the wheel rotated, and you can see in the lower image, a spot of light is projected onto it, it scans that dot of light across the screen. And Alexanderson is on the right there with his carbon arc lamp and a disc with holes in it to pass that light through and then flood the stage with a flying spot. This is they actually developed this to the point where they did a television program, an actual play, that was selected because it had very few scene changes in it. And the octagonal shaped box sitting on top of another box there is the monitor that they had to look at. So it had a 3-inch flickering screen, was the only way that the performers could see what was going on. And the bright light coming from that one box is another flying spot scanner, and then the box on the farthest right is a photocell to pick up the flying spot. The next development to make the cameras better was the photocell, and we have one over here I can show you later. And they had developed the neon tubes to a better quality, and actually what's called a crater tube, which is the one on the right. And in the discs, they started putting a lens in so that you could see an image projected onto a glass screen instead of looking through a little porthole. The bad part about the photocells was the light output, the current output, as you picked up some light, was very small. If you look at that graph, at about 100 volts, with the highest intensity of light, you're getting 10 microamps. So it really needed a lot of amplification. They started building bigger and bigger ones to make it work. Then in the late 20s, it started to fade because it just wasn't getting any new developments beside this point. But two younger inventors picked up on it. One was Hollis Baird, that's him on the left, and that's the Hollis Baird television, which used a scanning drum. And he was in Boston, and they broadcast programs on a regular schedule. And the other one, Ulysses Sanabria, was in Chicago, and he built a number of units, including the Western television that's on the bottom right. The development that Sanabria came up with was if you scan that disc at 60 RPMs, what you're going to get is a very bad flickering. The way he got around that was triple interlacing. So he had 3 sets for every revolution. So you had 45 line triple interlaced was what their standard was. And I have one of those sets, and I had it hooked up, and that's basically the image that I took through the viewing hole. So that's 45 lines triple interlaced with me and my assistant Lila. And what happened is when you blow it up, though, you're starting to lose any detail you might have seen when you were looking at that tiny 2-inch image that was in the viewing hole. And people started to recognize, Alex Anderson, as he and his family sat around the television. They were looking at that 2-inch hole in the big box there, getting a little uncomfortable in the chair. And finally, Alex Anderson admitted that when he took everything they could possibly develop to the maximum, it was never going to be a good commercial thing. His description was that if you already knew the person that you're going to be looking at, you could probably make out who it was. And so coincidentally, as he decided to stop doing the research, Sarnoff decided to stop sending him money. So everyone was still dreaming about that magic electronic television, and they're seeing that electronic was going to be the only way to go. So the idea of an electronic television was actually started by this man, Archibald Campbell Swinton, Englishman in 1908, proposed this plan that actually had a transmitter and a receiver. It had little alternators to make a magnetic field to deflect the beam, and the bottom line across the bottom, it sends the actual signal to be produced on another screen. The only problem we had in 1908 was none of these devices existed yet. So it was something that the scientific circles would sit and discuss, but there was nothing they could do. But there was work going on. This is an early Braun tube on the top, and that's Carl Ferdinand Braun. He has taken the idea of painting phosphor on one side of the tube, and then with a large static charge of upwards of 100,000 volts, you could basically rip electrons off the cathode, and there's an aperture pictured on the bottom left, and that would make it into somewhat of a spot, and then it would light up the screen on the other side. And then they worked with developing deflection plates so that if you wanted to move that spot that you were making, you can, in this one, only vertically move it up and down. The next tube that became popular was a Wenelt tube, where this man added, for some reason nobody had thought of a heated cathode so that you can get more electrons. They were doing cold cathode, and now he added a filament so that you had, instead of ripping them off of a metal plate, you're getting a cloud of electrons and pulling it through that way, so they could drop the high voltage down from tens of thousands to thousands. And he had deflection plates in both directions, and the one closer to the filament is one to actually control, like a brightness. It puts a, well, they're putting it on their aperture hole, but yeah, that's what it's acting like. And then the first one to make some use of this was Boris Rosing, and this is the Russian claims to having invented television. What he took was one of those mirror wheel assemblies and used that to create his image, and then he sent it to one of these CRTs, and so he basically came up with a hybrid television system. He was mechanical on the camera side and electronic on the picture side. Then the next step that came along was from this man, Manfred von Arden. He was a rich German from the high-class part, but he and his family had the money that he financed his own research over the years. And this is a picture of a Von Arden tube. I'll have one I'll put out here later on. He was able to make images with this, and he was responsible for the Germans being able to televise the 1936 Olympics in Berlin. These type of tubes, this isn't the Von Arden one, but it shows the elements better. You can see the hot cathode down there, elements that are the beginning of an electron gun, and then going right into the deflection plates. The Von Arden was able to use this tube to make a completely electronic system of a pickup tube and then a visual tube. And the way he did it was what we'd call a flying spot scanner. So if you look at the CRT number 1 down there, in front of it they put a transparency image, project the light from the face of the CRT that's scanning the face, picking it up by a photocell, and then sending it to be transmitted through a second CRT, and that would be the type of image you would get. And that's, according to this Radio News magazine, this is the actual image from an all-electronic camera and television tube that he did at the time. If you're not familiar with flying spot scanners, but if you are familiar with the B&K Analyst, where you basically can put your video out, well, that's what's inside an Analyst. There's a photocell, a CRT with a bluish kind of screen, and those sleeves on the side, you would slide your transparency down there to make your test pattern. So that's an idea that didn't just end with that time period. The next person we'll take a look at is Philo Farnsworth, famous boy inventor. There's plenty of books about him, how he had the whole idea of how to do it by watching a farmer plow a field back and forth in Utah, and went about developing it from his high school days on. The approach that he took is a different kind of pickup tube than Zworykin and RCA came up with. It's called a image dissector, and there's one I'll be able to show you when we're done here. That's an image, this image dissector, and it works by the electrons making an image reflected off of a plate, and then that entire image is swung back and forth to a single element detector inside. And on this later version, to be more sensitive, it has a what he called a multi-pactor, which is like a photomultiplier tube built into the tube. And his development went on with a lot of bumps and financing problems and everything else, but they did get on the air outside of suburbs of Philadelphia. That was their building, control room, and a image dissector camera. And they on a regular broadcast from that building, you could see that was a photograph of an orchestra playing, and it's their antenna on the bottom right. They learned a lot of things about television at that time. This was a picture of the first TV they put on the market, the small one. And even though I have the brochure for it, but nobody's seen any of those TVs still existing. They did make later ones. But they also published some experiments with makeup of what you need to do to be televised. And then down below, I guess they were low budget, they did a program using miniatures to go back from a live actor to a scene of, I guess, an army marching down on the bottom picture there. They went into production of this television, the one on the left, but eventually their money troubles and all just took over, and you could see the same TV sold under the Capehart name after Capehart bought the company out. And from that point, Philo Farnsworth pretty much faded from the scene. I think he did a What's My Line show once where he came on as the person who invented television, and a lot of people were just puzzled by the whole thing. Now we'll look at Dumont, who famously started his company in the basement of his house after the business with DeForest ended. And that was his basement laboratory, where he had decided that the first approach to making electronic television was to have a good CRT. The ones that we saw in some of these earlier things only had lives in tens or 100 hours before they would be exhausted, and no resolution or simple scanning system. So when he got some financing and expanded his company, he had created the what's called the I-tube, the tuning tube that's on 1940s kind of radios, that one, yep. And he sold the invention and the patent to Sarnoff for $20,000, which was, or $19,999, because Sarnoff would have had to get board approval to spend more than $20,000. So he sold that, which was just the right price to buy a used pickle factory in Passaic, and that was the first home of the company and where the lab was. And he went and did development, and he did get where the tubes now would have thousands of hours of capability and a bigger size. He was never going to go with the projection televisions. He said he did where RCA published the blue books, where they spent a lot of manpower and hours researching what size screen people could tolerate or would find enjoyable for commercial television. When he did it just by asking a few friends, and he decided that 8x11 or 8x10 was going to be what they'd had to have, and that's the first tubes were 14 inches across, and you had an 8x10 viewing screen. But the man who probably did the most to commercialize television, not to actually invent it, was David Sarnoff, because as the head of RCA, he had the means and the drive to keep the research going. So not a scientist, not an engineer, just a committed businessman, benevolent despot, you might say. But even during the Depression, he was going to keep the research money going for television. And they started doing the test broadcast from the Empire State Building in 1931. You could see there weren't many antennas up there back then. And they had to start sending a 120 line version. The one on the left would be Felix the Cat with a 60 line, the one on the right, 120 lines. They didn't have the iconoscope working yet, so they had to use a mechanical scanner. That's where all those photo cells are looking at Felix on the bottom, and they use that for their to send to their CRT displays. But then Zworykin did get his act together with the iconoscope, and someday I have some recordings of him being interviewed about how he came up with the method of setting up the screens, and pretty interesting stuff, but that'll be for another display sometime. So now they had the iconoscope tube. On the right, that's the tube inside an iconoscope camera. So on the far right would be the lens where the light comes in, hits the face of the tube, and the electronics are down below that. And at the same time, they were experimenting with different phosphors to see the best way to paint the screens. And this was CRT testing in the image on the bottom right. And things were coming along. By 1938, I think this was their test, December 1938. This was a test broadcast they were doing from the Empire State Building of the automobile show. And you could see it was starting to get to where something commercially acceptable for people was. That was sent from a mobile truck to the RCA building. And they also figured that sports would be a big thing, so they began televising baseball games, and bottom right one is from the Polo Grounds. And then we get to the famous announcement by Sarnoff that commercial television was going to be starting. The date was April 20, 1939. Unfortunately, he made that speech without kind of clearing it with the FCC. So Commissioner Fly took a dim view of this because RCA had proposed a 441 line AM for sound, and they just figured with their horsepower that they would just steamroller this through, and Fly said no. So they kept broadcasting, but it was still under an experimental license. Then the NTSC was formed, and the 525 line was worked out. But part of I guess you'd say, the punishment for jumping the gun was one of the reasons that Chairman Fly thought FM sound would be better than AM sound, after all the fights Sarnoff had with Armstrong about using or not using FM. So this is a picture of the portable camera with an iconoscope that they made. You can see one of the things that was kind of left out was a viewfinder. So the cameraman had to stand behind and just kind of point the camera where he thought the target would be. That's if I have this correct, that's the picture on the right. That camera is actually at the Early Television Museum now in Columbus. And RCA did a lot of investigating about makeup, and they got very interested in how much lighting would be needed, because the iconoscope, even though it was better than the image dissector, did need an awful lot of light, and they ended up hiring an actress to stand in front of the camera while they did their calibrations and experiments. Since that was her job for the whole day, they called her Miss Patience. So she would just stand there under the hot lights, and I guess after they complained, the guys probably came up with this idea, well, how about in a bathing suit? So that seemed to be the route they were going to take. Meanwhile, Dumont at the pickle factory is coming up with better CRTs, and has started to introduce what he called the oscillographs. Very early oscilloscopes. To raise some money, they would actually go out and do Dumont and his assistant goldsmith would go out to colleges and big companies just to demonstrate what an oscilloscope could do for them, and take orders. And that was the only real income they had coming in at the time. But when they saw that,
Sorry, what year would that be?
this picture of the factory there, probably 34, 35. But then by 38, Dumont wanted to jump into making a complete television set, and they were also coming to realize they were going to have to produce television programs. But he, like Alexanderson, decided, well, maybe a trip to Europe and see what they're doing over there. So he got a tour of the Kosser company, a big, kind of like a General Electric company in England. And they were already put a TV on the market. And so he bought one of those and had it sent back here. And basically, for a small company, it's hard to find fault, but he kind of jump-started things by making a copy of the Kosser TV. So the one on the top is or is it the one on the bottom? Or is it the one on the top?
Yeah, they look like British tubes on the top.
On the top, it's the British tubes, yep. And the metal tubes were a U.S. thing at the time. And that ended up becoming the Model 180, which was actually on sale ahead of the NJARC sets in '39. Kind of this is a picture of them actually building and chassis. And the interesting point, though, was when Sarnoff made that speech at the World's Fair in '39, there were more Dumont TVs that could see the speech than there were RCA TVs, because the only RCA ones were the RR 359s that were in a few homes. So Dumont, realizing that he'd have to have content for people, they started an experimental transmitter at W2XV-TV in Passaic. So that's where some of the first broadcasting on a regular basis was occurring in the New York area. 50 watts on top of the pickle factory. And that would be what their entire studio would be for an early days broadcast. So at this point, NBC is kind of forced into programming too, and we're also into the war years, but the TV was on, so we can see from this that on Sunday, December, looks like 29th, from 2 to 5, that famous program Test Pattern was on. Then they took a dinner break, and then from 7:40 to 8:40, Test Pattern came back on, and from 8:40 till the end, a hockey game. And then after being exhausted from that, they took a 5-day break to January 4th, when they had the Test Pattern show on again. So by 45, you can see the Dumont schedule had a few more things on some were little films that they would run. They had a Valentine's party on Tuesday the 13th. So then they got their commercial license at Dumont, and WABD for Alan B. Dumont was on the air from a new transmitter on 515 Madison Avenue. And with some input money from Paramount Pictures, they rented space in the Wanamaker building, and actually we're doing live TV from there with a studio that David Sarnoff was envious of, because they had the ability, since everything was live, they could just shift things and keep going from one show to another without having to shut down, move the equipment, and take it somewhere else. You can see up in the ceiling, the monitors that are up hanging from the ceiling look just like that Model 180 television with a different cabinet on it. And this is the view from the control room. Not to be outdone, Philco was working on television. You can see they made something that looked like an early pre-war RCA set. I don't believe any of these have survived. I've asked a few people. There's a hell of a lot of electronics down in the bottom there, and I guess when nothing was on TV, you could always use it as a space heater. They did build their own camera tube, and they did build their own CRTs for experimental use. And they got a little more organized, and they began back in even that early day televising the Mummers Day Parade. See, there's a little snow on the ground that day. And they were on the air as WPTZ. They would televise the Penn State football games and programs from their studio. The early leader on the West Coast was Don Lee Broadcasting. They had, from the early mechanical days, been on the air with some programming. But once electronic took over, they got more serious about it, did cooking programs. They did the Rose Bowl Day Parade without color and sporting events. And the man who made most of their work possible was this engineer, Harry Lubke. And he took information from RCA, he can get iconoscopes from RCA, and they built their own cameras and equipment in the early days. And Don Lee was actually just a Cadillac dealer who had the money to finance all this stuff, and then his son got involved. And they made plans to build a $3 million studio, and they were affiliated with Mutual Broadcasting. But back in 38 and 39, these are what you could buy. That is the Dumont set, RCA's pre-war TVs. And all of them would, except for the 5-inch tabletop, would have a radio, because most of the time you're going to be using the radio compared to the limited schedule of what was on the air. And there was also pretty popular, if you didn't have the budget to buy one, you could buy a kit. Andrea was making kit sets with or without the cabinet. You could buy the set assembled from them, but they had a 5-inch screen. And this copy of Radio News, where every American family should be teaching their son to solder, putting their own TV together. So also CBS was getting their act together. They had done work with mechanical television, but they were making a big electronic system in the Chrysler building because RCA had already booked up the Empire State Building. And major renovations were made to support equipment up there, air condition those rooms way up on top. And the control rooms were down many levels down the building. But then, as this copy of a famous radiogram shows, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and all television work is being changed to defense work. And this is Sarnoff's way of telling the president that RCA is ready to do whatever he needs. And the time would just where most of them wanted to stop broadcasting because it was still experimental. They weren't really making any money on it. Dumont did keep going with broadcasting and learned a lot of techniques that they could use. And then our NBC and CBS put some programming on the air during the war years too. And then an interesting development as the war was ending, GE started WRGB up in Schenectady, and with their affiliation with RCA, they decided to only do limited studio work on their own, but they had put together a microwave link down to New York City, and they would get programming from NBC in New York and broadcast it up to Schenectady, and then they put a few more stations in around Syracuse and Buffalo were linked up, so they started a small wireless network that way. And this is some of the programming that was being sent out there. This is purported to be the first television commercial. They sent a remote truck, a camera, and all the equipment they needed, and the owner of the hat shop gave his little talk. But they, after this, they decided maybe filming the event at the location and then bringing the film back would be a better idea. So the program schedules are improving. The television gets a rate card is actually what they're charging people for sponsorship. In the beginning, they were, I can't make it out on this, let's see. Yeah, where it was an hour sponsorship was $750 on NBC, but Dumont, since he was the poor man coming behind, he could only get $300 an hour, which was part of his, what was the beginning of his financial woes, where he couldn't make the kind of money that NBC could. But now in 46, we get the release of the 10-inch RCA 630s, which to me is one of the most perfect TVs made, because it's before all the engineers were told to find a way to make it cheaper. The 30 and 630 is for the number of tubes in that thing, and it's got the best stable picture, contrast, 4 IF stages. They spared no expense in making that. If you want to have a collection of one TV, that's the guy to get. They did have a 7-inch set that was a lower priced one, but they didn't make too many of those. This is some firsts of television stations. The bottom left is the first broadcast day at WPIX in New York, June 1948. In researching this, you could find a lot of stations that were either the big companies wanting to have a station, and a lot of them were newspapers wanting to have a station to just continue their ways of advertising and presenting the news. And the top left is WNHC in Connecticut, and WDTV in those other two pictures is Dumont's third station that was in Pittsburgh. This is WBEN, the Buffalo Evening News station in Buffalo, a CBS affiliate. This one is a very interesting picture because it's an early station, KDYL in Salt Lake City, and you can see in the picture on the top left, they had an iconoscope camera with no viewfinder, and that box that the guy is looking into is a mirror screen set that is his monitor. So he is moving the camera while he looks down in that big cabinet to see what he's moving it to. And the top right, they kept their lobby set up with a number of these TVs to have people come in and see what television was all about. This is an interesting picture because it's a memorial of WOR Television's first program in July of 1943, but their first broadcast was in October of 1949. So the way I found out about this, the man at the top was Jack Poppley, who was their chief engineer from the 1920s to the 1960s, I guess. And his idea was to get training for his people when they did get a television station. He would help out the people at Dumont who were sending their people would work a full day in Passaic, and then he would get volunteers to go and run the TV station in New York for the evening shift. So Poppley said, well, I'll cover some of those nights with my people, and then when we're ready to go, we'll have people who know what they're doing. So WOR did have its opening day. Many things went wrong. That's the whole electronics component set there all on that table. And all the people looking over their shoulder while the first segment of the show they had no audio. But they did get it going. And in his scrapbooks that are at the AWA library, this postcard came to Jack Poppley. And I printed out what the contents of the postcard said. Dear sir, why don't you get some engineers and fix your WOR TV outfit? Most of your programs so far are a disgrace, and boy do they stink. So he took that as a challenge, and he kept that postcard as a little reminder of the work he still had to do. And they did do it. This is the ultra-modern video control at WOR TV, which they got their act together just like the next year or so. And they also started another station in Washington. Now, WOR TV is one that I can remember as a kid. There's their logo on the right, on the left, and the cartoon show that my family used to watch all the time was Terry Toon Circus with Claude Kirshner. And you can see his famous black and white cartoons. They didn't need color TV because those were black and white cartoons. Were Farmer Alfalfa, who would play and entertain the little mouse up there. And down in the picture below, that cat must have screwed up the dials on his radio because it was just horrible squealing going on. And that would be followed by the $1 Million Movie, which, if you don't remember that, if on Monday you didn't catch the $1 Million Movie on time, no problem, they played it again right after the first showing ended. If you were busy Monday, Tuesday, same movie, and the same movie after that. I think there was an afternoon version of the movie too. And if you missed Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, they didn't change the movie again until the next week. So I don't know what the $1 million meant, but it was kind of low end. And I can remember it because, I don't know if this will work or not, if I'm getting audio through here. That was, yeah, that was the most dismal intro to a program that I think I've ever seen. You don't know if it was raining there or what it was, but the The worst thing for us is that meant that Terry Toon Circus was over. My mom would hear that music from the other room and say, "Okay, time to go to bed," and that was that for the night. Anyway, the other one, WABD, Dumont Station, was on the air. Famous for their Cavalcade of Stars, which introduced the whole Honeymooners program. You can see they have the cameras labeled there, 1, 2, and 3, and they were all running the Electronicam, which was Dumont's way of getting the programming to their affiliates. They would have to take that film, edit it down to what the live show looked like, and then send it out by whatever express they could to their stations around the country, because the coax cable things weren't done very far at that point. And if you're a Honeymooners freak, that's the one where Norton's trying to teach him how to do the huckabuck. And that's Gleason playing around with the camera. So it took 35 millimeter film simultaneously with the live TV. And they would take that to edit and then ship it out. I have to go back and look at the numbers, but in Alex Magoon's book on television, when so much of the programming was being sent around the country like that, and so many programs had to be the kinescopes, not the Electronicam, that something like 60 million feet of film was being used per month in the New York area for all this programming that was being sent around. And one of their most popular shows was Bishop Sheen, who was apparently very particular about how everything would work, to where he even tested the camera shots before they could do the show. And that was followed by Captain Video. And there's some books written about the Dumont network part, and some of it's pretty fascinating, to where their budget for props was $50 a week. And so that's why some of these things don't look like anything very scientific. And when they would go to check out how the other video rangers would be, they would go to stock footage of cowboy movies. So from their ship or whatever, they're looking down and seeing what the cowboys and Indians are fighting across the West. But that's the kind of thing, and people, instead of complaining about it, were just fascinated by the fact their kids loved it. And they had promotional toys and a lot of that. But by 1951, then there's a deluge of stations going on the air, and production of televisions is finally ramping up to the numbers that certainly say it's out of the experimental stage. This is the Miracle Mile assembly line in Metuchen for Westinghouse. They, when they built that plant on Route 27 up there, it was supposed to be where raw materials would come in, and then they have their Miracle Mile of everything getting pulled together, and then the trains came up the back and just took the finished TVs away. And they did that for a good bit of time. The problem with Westinghouse was they were never too serious about that. They were making more money on defense work, that sometimes the TV work got put to the side. The RCA at the same time was ramping up their production of 10-inch sets. Let's see. This is what some of the early cameras looked like: TK-10s, TK-11s, TK-30s. And this camera on the bottom is us in the early television know, Chuck Conrad's museum down in Texas Broadcasting. That's the actual camera that filmed Jack Ruby shooting Lee Harvey Oswald. It was used in the police station that day, and he has it in his museum. And Dumont was also starting to build the image orthicon cameras as those tubes were being released. This was the other Dumont television network station in Washington, WTTG. Westinghouse started to get into the broadcasting game with WBZ up in Boston, and Zenith, not to be left out, even though they didn't produce televisions right away. there's a picture of a pre-war kind of set on the top right that I don't believe they ever sold, but they did experimental broadcast, and W9XZV became WTZR. Oop. This is, I'm sorry, this one's WTVR. This is the listed as the South's first television station in Richmond, Virginia. And from the Philadelphia area, WFIL wouldn't become that popular till a little later, at least where we were in Edison. You could pick up American Bandstand if you had your antenna pointing the right way. And my mother was of the age that she was into that rock and rolling that was going on at Dick Clark down there. And this shows the work that was being done to send television by microwave. Where you needed to get performers, you needed to have your studios in the city, but the best transmitting was from the suburbs. So they would, like WTMJ from the Milwaukee Journal, set up a dish on their roof, and that sent the signal to the transmitter you can see on the right out in the suburbs. Crosley, not to be outdone, started a number of stations in Ohio, and what he did was for each station in each different city, they were all WLW with either a -C, D, T, Station of the Stars, so they all would have a theme. So if you could pick up other of the WLW stations, you could tell from the call sign what their act was going to be. This is W6XYZ, which became KTLA, and they were big with their mobile truck, going around to where they could, go to movie previews and interviews with the television stars, depending on where they were going to be. But then they set up a very elaborate remote shot where they had to have the Marines help with a helicopter to set up this dish on a mountaintop. And what they were going to be there for was the Nevada Proving Grounds, where they televised the atomic bomb test. So this guy on the roof of the truck is feeling the breeze as the atomic bomb tests were done. And it was a very popular thing to want to know what was going on in those days of the battles with the Russians over who's got the biggest bombs. Another one that was related to their newspaper was KSD and TV in St. Louis. You can see that he had to have a monitor to watch what was going on in the ball game that was being televised. He had to have a pre-war TV on the countertop there. And they got pretty serious into their news broadcasting to where they were even able to receive facsimiles at their station to then televise that and put it on the news. So we've had all this development. We're 100 years into developing television, and we've reached that level where now finally America could sit back and enjoy television. Milton Berlin Address and Liberace. Thank you guys. But there is still something missing. Even though they're nice clear pictures, wouldn't you like to see them in color? So color is finally coming along. And the first system for color television was the CBS system with the spinning discs. The idea was you have a black and white CRT, because there were no color CRTs, a wheel that's synchronized to the one at the camera, and then you'd project that black and white image through the color wheel. Everything would sync up, and you would get a pretty darn good image. That's the one I took on my TV. You had no worries about convergence. Everything was automatically converged, and the only problem you had was the biggest screen they were able to use was a 10-inch screen, because the color wheels kept getting bigger. So they had a 10-inch screen and then a magnifier lens to get you up to a 15-inch screen. So the industry wasn't too thrilled with that, and they started making complaints to the FCC, but that electronic was going to have to be the way for color television too. And to make his point, Dumont, who now had his 30-inch black and white TV, and his engineer Goldsmith there, made a scale model of size scanning disk you would have to have, which was somewhere over in the area of 9 feet tall. And you can see by the size of the motor down below that you would really need to be wearing earmuffs by the time that thing would spin up. But then the shadow mask was fixed up after a number of a series of test units. RCA got it worked out, and the first a 16-inch that was never put on the market, and then finally the 15-inch. They were proud to display this shapely new tube and put these into mass production. The woman in the back is testing the color purity on a screen. And you had to have color cameras to go along, and the first one you could see how huge it is, the TK40, and how full of electronics it is when they had the lid off of it. And they eventually started to work to reduce their size. That weighed over 200 pounds. And I've met a man who was a cameraman back in the earlier days of color, and it was the cameraman and his crew that had the job of, like if it was a golf match, getting those cameras up to the top of the scaffolding so that they could do these golf tournaments as they would go through. And they would be told how the camera was worth more than all their salaries and all their friends' salaries put together. But they did get the cameras to the Rose Bowl parade in 1954, and even Dorothy thinks that that's pretty good. And then the finally they got the CT100s into mass production out in Bloomington, Indiana. So their sales were poor, their prices were high, and it wasn't until a few years later when the 21-inch round tubes were perfected, and eventually the rectangular screens. So once again, we've reached a point where high definition's ready to come out. We're starting a new century, and now man can sit back and watch things like Gilligan's Island. So thanks for watching. It was a rough 140 some years to get to that point, and Lila and I just sat back and watched some of these videos on TV. I'm going to be doing more work on Dumont, so next time you'll be seeing the rise and fall of Alan Dumont, hopefully in October next time. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll be happy to show you any of these. I have one of the Von Arden tubes that is, I'm going to have to ask that if you want to see something, I'd be happy to pick them up, but some of these are pretty valuable. This is from 1930. And that would be the one, the type that was used in that flying spot scanner. And I also have, as the war began, Dumont made a lot of their business by building tubes for radar. And they had as many as 5 guns in these tubes. Let's see. And they had to be electrostatic deflection because it wasn't like the same yoke coil in a color tube would move it the same way. They had to control each one individually. So where this one gun might be deflecting left, the other one's vertical, so that they could have all those traces of what the radar is sending back.
Like service station in Teterboro had a radio DX system that It was
Oh,
really
yeah?
interesting.
Yeah.
It was in service until the 80s.
Really? Well, they built these pretty good construction, I'd have to say, and that was his claim to fame of making these things that would last a long time.
Well, another system that developed in the early part of the 20th century was the facsimile system for scanning documents and transmitting them over wire or theoretically by radio too.
Yeah, there's,
Any collaboration or exchange of technology between the facsimile and the television.
yeah, RCA was actually one of the bigger ones making the facsimile machines too. And in New York, the idea, the first one to actually put a product out was Crosley. He made a system called the Rito. And the Rito had a cabinet and a printing head in it. And then under it would be the radio that Crosley made. And at 2 in the morning, there would be a timer that would turn your radio on to the Crosley station, and they would broadcast to the remote farmer or whoever a little news